Thank you for joining me for this episode of God Talk, and the word for the day is dumpster fire. I feel a little bit like when I was a kid and you watched Sesame Street and they had a word for the day, but that's going to be our word for the day for the podcast, because the more and more I look at the world in which we live, our country, I can't help but think dumpster fire. I shared this in Bible study yesterday, but I read this article that Oregon, a university in Oregon, it's actually Western Oregon University. And what is it about Oregon anyways, before I get into the story? I mean, it used to be like California was a poster child for dysfunction in this country, but I kind of think it's been replaced by Oregon. Oregon's been pretty bad for a while. In fact, the governor of California is starting to align himself with more conservative values, because he probably in the next election is going to run for president. There was a bill that was going to ban tackle football under the age of 12 or something like that in California, and he threatened to veto it, so they withdrew the bill. So I don't know that California, at least for the next 4 years, while their current governor is aligning himself to be a little bit more mainstream, I don't know that California is going to be our poster child of dysfunction in this country. They'll still give it a run for the money, but Oregon's been pretty bad for a while. So there's this university in Oregon. It's actually called Western Oregon University, and they have decided that, when kids fail a class, that just really damages their psyche. So you can no longer fail a class at Western Oregon University. And in what they found is like 68% of people who end up dropping out as freshmen have dropped out because they failed a class. So in their rationale, if you just keep them from failing classes, then they won't drop out. Now they'll claim that's like better for humanity, because the kids are staying in school, but actually it's a business model. And if you can keep the kids from dropping out, you can keep getting money from them. If they drop out as freshmen, you've just lost 3 years of a client, 3 years of payment for that student if they drop out. And so you can't fail there anymore. They've done away with D- and Fs. Now, if you don't pass your class, you don't get credit for it, but you can't fail it. And what that means then is when the kids look at their GPA, because they're so sensitive to GPAs, the classes that they basically fail, which they don't fail, they just don't get credit for it, that doesn't count against you. So your GPA and your final GPA is finally, it's considered basically by all the classes that you've shown proficiency in, that you've passed. And it'll give you a grade on that, but they just don't give you a grade if you fail. You just have to retake the class. So it brings to a new level, like the participation trophy that kids get nowadays that they never had when I was kids, because, their psyche's just... it's so sensitive that if they actually fail a class, they're not going to be able to cope with that, and they may just have to drop out of school. So that's a new one for me. I'm not aware of any other university doing away with that standard that has been the standard in our country for the last couple hundred years. But you can now not fail at Western Oregon University. But it is Oregon, so I guess it's to be expected. Item number 2 on It's a Dumpster Fire podcast is JP Morgan. They have come out and said that the United States, because of its irresponsibility, and we know this, but the irresponsibility of the debt in America, we are headed for a financial cliff, and we're about 10 years away, and we're headed for the cliff at about 60 miles an hour. And they're basically saying in 10 years, the financial situation in America is going to be so bad, it's going to be like a death spiral that we're not even going to be able to pull out of it. And Jamie Dimon, the chief executive officer, the head of JP Morgan, he and Paul Ryan basically have come together and said, this is the most avoidable crisis that we have. We see it clearly. It's coming a mile away, but no one's doing anything about it. And, this is my frustration, because I'm going to add the Republicans as a dumpster fire here in a little bit, so I don't want to use all my ammo yet because I want to talk about just the financial state of this country. But it used to be that it's the left that just would always like to spend and have no financial soundness to what they're doing. They just hand out money like it's candy and social programs like it's candy and so forth. But that's not the case anymore. This new Republican Party that in many respects takes on a lot of characteristics of the Democrats, they like spending too. And I know this isn't completely new, but it's horrific. I mean, this was the whole thing on with Trump, and Trump did many great things when he was president for the conservative cause, but he didn't do anything financially to help the conservative cause. I mean, debt went up 40%. Our national debt went up 40% under his 4 years in office. Now that's lower than what it went up under some other people, but that's still, it went up by $8 trillion. And so where was during those 4 years, where was the financial discipline that we need so that we don't go off this cliff? And then if only the Republicans would take control of the House, then we would be able to get spending under control. I mean, it would be like the contract with America back when Newt Gingrich, and I think I was in college or late high school or whatever, whenever that was, they tightened the bolts. It was financially, fiscally conservative. If only the Republicans would take over the House, then we would be able to have some financial discipline. No, that's not how it's been. It doesn't matter who the speaker's been since the Republicans have taken it over. We just keep pushing it down the road. We keep raising the debt ceiling. So Trump, the one who is going to just destroy blow everything up and stop politics the way that it's always been, he didn't stop it. The Republicans in Congress aren't going to stop it. And you know why none of them are going to stop it? Because to tell someone no, and to tell people that are getting these free handouts no, that doesn't get you votes. And elections are so close in this country anyways. How can you afford to lose a few million votes? And so no one is doing anything about it. It is completely preventable, but we're not going to do anything about it. And so you have very smart people once again like Jamie Dimon, who's saying we're headed for a financial cliff. I mean, when you go off a cliff, the results are not really good. And that's where we're headed. We see it coming. There's a lot that we can do about it. But as we get closer, you know what? The harder it will be and the tougher the decisions will be. And I don't think anyone has the fortitude to do anything about it. Because as a society, this is like one giant dumpster fire in our country right now. Let's go to the border. For the last 3 years, our current administration with President Biden has been horrific with protecting the border. And if you like to listen to the Republicans, I mean, it's like mass murder every day. You're letting in all these murderers and terrorists and all these other things. Well, Biden knows that he's been wrong about this. He knows he's on the wrong side of this issue. He knows it might cost him enough votes. It'll cost him the election. So he's moving to the middle in order to get votes. I mean, clearly. And so in the Senate, the Republicans and Democrats have come together. They've come up with a plan. It's not finalized yet, but it will basically move it back to Trump era border restrictions. And you know what the Republicans are doing about it? Absolutely nothing. Trump says, no, reject it. It's not a good enough bill. Put it on me. The Speaker of the House, no, because he's in Trump's pocket. He's not willing to do anything about it. Here's the deal. If it improves the situation 30%, if we can improve the situation by 30% for 8 months, 9 months, then you know what? Then let Trump or whoever run on the fact they did something, but the only reason they did it was to gain votes, and they should have done a whole lot more. But if we really have rapists, murderers, terrorists, and everyone coming across the border, if we can reduce that by 30, 40, or 50% for the next several months, then dang it, do it. Or otherwise, you're just playing politics. Or otherwise, that's not really what's going on or who's coming across. So if the problem is as bad as it is, and I believe it probably is, then take what you can get, We know why it's being done. It's only being done by politics, but you don't allow that border to stay wide open for another, 10 months, 11 months because of politics. If I knew that someone's going to break into my house and steal everything, would I just keep the house open just because I want to prove the point that I'm right? No. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, and that's what's going on in this country. People put politics over safety, politics over what's best for this country. It doesn't matter if it's financially. It doesn't matter if it's the border. It's a dumpster fire. Speaking of dumpster fires, how about Ukraine? Now, I get it's a corrupt country. I get that they've had their issues, but somehow, Republicans who used to be against Russia, because Russia's against democracy and a lot of the principles we stand for, Republicans used to be they used to be the saber rattlers. They used to be the ones that made sure that American and its influence was propagated across the world. And for some reason, that's fallen into the Democrats' hands, because the Republican Party themselves have become a dumpster fire. There's a civil war in the Republican Party between being isolationists or not isolationists, and whether you're MAGA enough or whether you're this or that. I mean, it's incredible. So the Republicans, we're the ones, we were the ones screaming that Biden messed up Afghanistan, but we're willing to allow Ukraine to, be overrun by Russia, when someone else, maybe even ourselves at some point down the road, we're going to have to deal with Russia. Now, I get we have financial issues, and I think a point can be made, this costs us much money. Do we want to add on this debt for this? What I was reading is we would have to add about 5% to our defense budget to adequately supply Ukraine to continue to fight their war. So the question is that's not 5% to the U.S. budget. It's the defense budget. Now, defense budget's the biggest part of our budget, but 5%, is it worth it? Arguably, I think it is. But here's the bigger issue: is that with us not supporting that and trying to block all aid to Ukraine, do you think China's watching? And if Ukraine's not all that important, and I think you can argue that it's not, I don't agree because of the Russia aspect of it, but China's watching. So is Taiwan important? And so if what we see is that the part of the American government that has always been really pro-defense, pro carrying a big stick, pro America's influence in this world, the Republicans, if they see that the Republicans don't have a stomach to stand up to Russia and Ukraine, why would we in Taiwan? And is Taiwan a little bit more critical, especially with all of their technology production and so forth that goes on there? I think so. And so even if you don't think Ukraine's worth it, and I get if you don't, I'm not judging you if you don't think that, but by supporting them against Russia, you send a message to China. And can we afford to not send that kind of message to China? And once again, this is just another example of the dumpster fires that we have not only in this country, but this world. I got into a little bit of what's going on in the Republican Party, and I have to tell you, the extreme left of the Democrats, it's lunacy. It's absolutely lunacy. And they've always been clearly insane and lunatics and so forth. But I would say that there's an element and there's a faction that has broken free on the right that is equally as troubling. And once again, it's creating a civil war within the Republican Party, which traditionally has always kept sanity in this country. So when the party that's keeping sanity is now having an argument over what reality is and what policy should be, it's just not a good thing. Which then gets me to my last point is it was an interesting comment that was asked, and I don't care if you like Ron DeSantis or not. I personally liked him, but it doesn't matter if I personally liked him or not. But I did like his answer to this question. Someone asked him if he was willing, if he was going to run for president in 4 years. His answer was, "Let's see if we have a country in 4 years." Now, frankly, if that was the Ron DeSantis of the campaign, I think he would have had a whole lot more support than what he did. But he's always been a tell it like it is type person. And I have to tell you, I don't know that it's a real possibility that we don't have a country in 4 years. But I have to tell you, with the dumpster fires that are going on in this country right now, whatever country is left in 4 years, or whatever the state of our country is, may be a whole lot more difficult to turn around to do something with than what we're looking at right now. And it's pretty startling right now. You know, we've always said, God bless America. This is God Talk, so I do need to pull a little God into this Dumpster Fire podcast. We always say God bless America. I wonder, like, if God sits there and says, why should I? Because, like, I'm wondering, why should he? What exactly about our country? Is it our fiscal, stability and how wisely we use money in this country? Is it how we promote values and morality in this country? Is it our extreme tolerance in which, in corporations, we have to teach that every kind of wickedness and dysfunction is normal and equal, if not better, than to God himself? In Bible study yesterday, one of the people in class said she worked for, and she didn't say the corporation she worked for, but a coworker complained because she had a calendar devotional on her desk, and she was forced to take it down or she was going to be written up. This is the dumpster fire of the country in which we live. So I guess my preference would be we stop saying God bless America, because in the end, why should he? I just, give me one good reason, because I'm struggling to come up with any. Well, I'm sorry if this is too depressing of a podcast for you, but we are getting into that time of year. It's going to be an interesting year in 2024 as politics, religion, society, all that just come crashing together. And I don't know about God bless America, but certainly God help us, because this country, the society in which we live in, has become one giant dumpster fire. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of God Talk. I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week.